Hey everyone, back on Inbound After Hours again. I'm going to call this season 4, or it's our fourth attempt at
Yeah,
having a podcast go in on a regular basis. Um, you'll notice there's just me and Andrew this year, so just me and you, mate. We've been abandoned.
absolutely. Yeah, left to it, haven't we?
Yeah,
Last two left.
I know. Paul's actually even worse. He's left us for another podcast, so he's doing his own spin-off show, video,
Like
uh,
Joey.
like Joey. Yes, just like like Joey leaving friends and doing his own thing. But yeah, he's left us. He's doing a separate podcast all about video. So he's gone, and Mark's got his head stuck into his new role at Digital 22, looking after design and dev. So the inbound part of it's left to me and you. So we're the hosts for this this
That's
season
it.
of Inbound After Hours.
Kicking it off, yeah. Looking forward to it.
Definitely. Which, to be fair, in a digital sort of remote world, is probably a good thing because I don't know how many people want to listen to a four-way Zoom call. It's hard enough being in them.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you're kind of making promises now that this is going to be better than the last ones.
It's
You
better
said it now.
now without Paul and Mark. No,
That's a quote for
I've,
this
I've, uh,
this one.
I've said it. Um, cool. So with that out of the way, we were having a quick chat about what we wanted to cover in this first one, and we thought January is a bit of a unique time for marketers, isn't it? So talk about what's been on our to-do lists and what's probably on most people's to-do lists in January.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that sort of jobs for January is a good place to start. We've definitely been getting our heads around being back after Christmas, but then, better housekeeping, the strategist team, doing their sort of jobs for the year ahead, really, not just your planning and whatnot, but there's a few little things that we've been enjoying doing that we thought would be worth sharing now. I think the first one that I would be doing, and again, it does seem obvious when you say it, but I think just looking back at a bit of a retrospective on last year, it's not surprising, but it is surprising when you speak to people and you realize that a lot of people just start fresh, start again, or keep doing what they're doing, or they don't actually take the time to look back beyond December, or they write December off as like it's Christmas, it's quiet for everyone sort of thing. But then Jan's Jan and they've got a new budget and they set off. So I think actually taking the time, if you've got it, if you can make it and find it, to look at the year as a whole, compare it to the year before, sit and talk to your team and reflect, really, trying to take the weirdness that was last year and maybe a lot of this year out of it, but just the stats are still the stats. Look back and on a channel by channel, like retrospective, how did it do? What did we get out? Did we, not just the results, your actual production, what did we get out on time? What did we actually deliver? Did those campaigns work the way we wanted them to? Not only is that a good practice for whatever you're trying to do next year, whether you're trying to justify more budget or a new project or just speaking with your team, but it actually gets you back to where you were before Christmas and you get back into it much quicker rather than just picking a point in the sky and saying, oh, we'll just start from there. You kind of get back into your results, which I personally find really useful when you've not thought about campaign cycles for a couple of weeks and you've been off over Christmas. It really helped me to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a couple of good points there is it's not just, okay, are we up on last year on traffic or whatever, like just the big top level numbers or the numbers that you're in your KPI reports that you give to your boss or whatever. It's sitting back, like you said, and reflecting on how hard was it to get those results. Like, were we efficient in producing stuff? Were the quality of things what we expected? Were the ideas that we had good ideas? Like, were the campaign themes right? Where did we get more traction with when we talked about this or when we talked about that? And really having, like you say, that mind space to reflect properly and not just look at top level stats and think, how are we going to use that information from what we can see happen last year to drive a change this year?
I put one of my notes and I put here is like have an honest chat with yourself. Well, it's kind of what you just said. Like actually say, was that worth it? Was it worth the money, the time, the effort, the pain? Do I just want to keep doing that? Do I want to bin it? Do I want to find something new? And that can go across the board from ideas, channels, initiatives, the types of marketing like strategies or tactics you're actually using straight through to tools as well. It's always a good time to have a bit of a shop around. I find at the start of the year there's a load of good offers on tools to like sign up for the year. I'm always amazed at the tools that are out there. Like I feel like I'm quite on the ball with like B2B marketing technology, and I know a lot about what is out there. But when you start going digging and having a look, there's some amazing stuff, and stuff that the same sort of stuff. Recently, I've been looking at like content AI tools, and a few years ago, everyone said it was AI, and it's like, well, it isn't. But like
Yeah.
stuff progresses, and it's worth just checking in on the same tools that you looked at last year, but like the new ones around it, because it's getting better all the time. So yeah, definitely have that honest chat with yourself, your team, or maybe your boss who wants to carry on doing something, and you've got the data to say it's probably not worth it. Just going to make this year a lot easier for yourself if you can find that time.
No, definitely. So yeah, you've had a good soul search and a good chat with yourself and with your team, and really assessed what worked well and what hasn't. What's the next thing on your to-do list as a marketer in Jan?
Well, I think once you've done all of that, you've made some choices. Again, seems a bit obvious, but actually mapping out what you're going to do, making a plan, not just the month ahead, what you're going to do in Jan, but trying to do a bit of a 12-month roadmap, super high level, break it down into quarters if you need to, but maybe where you want to end the year on. You've probably already done a lot of this. If you're getting budget signed off, you probably will thinking about this sort of stuff September, October, November, but who knows what last year was like. It was a bit all up in the air. So yeah, like definitely thinking about where you want to be going and at what pace, and really what's like the measure of success for this year look like. It might not be as stratospheric as you'd thought at the start of last year, but it's worth putting the line in the sand somewhere so that all that stuff we just talked about can really plug into a bigger strategy. Yeah, that's again seems quite an obvious one, but it's kind of where you want to start.
Yeah, it's got to be done, and like you say, with what everyone's been through last year, I don't know many people who went through the same budgetary and planning process that they have. Like we have clients who work like clockwork on. I need to do my plan in September. I need to present it to my boss in October. He's going to take it to his boss in November. We'll get it signed off before December. Like all that's gone out the window for those. So there's definitely people still sat here in January without a budget signed off, without a completely formulated plan. So for sure, and I think I do Digital 22's version of that. I guess where I like to start is having a think on a couple of themes really. What's our North Star like? What are we really aiming to achieve this year? Because as marketers, there's 100 KPIs, isn't there? And if I just say, look, I want these all to go up 10%, like great, there's some targets, or I can break it down by channel and we want to do a little bit more on SEO than we want to do on social or whatever it is. But really, I like to start with if I get to the end of this year and we've achieved this one thing, like that'll be a good year. So sitting and thinking what's going to be our like North Star metric, and everything else can kind of fall in place around that.
Do you think I guess that's potentially easier for you as like MD of Digital 22, and you can pick that quite easily? I guess if someone's in a role where you're a marketing manager, you sort of pick your own North Star, but you probably need to have that session and get those stakeholder goals for the year ahead, and the nice to haves, the little things that bugged them last year. Everyone's got financial goals, and as a marketer, you're probably going to break that down into a full funnel or whatever. But I think it's really good, like you say, if you can get verbal or written confirmation of what's that one thing,
Yeah.
and not what is it, get the website launched, get the new product live in Q1, whatever that thing is that might not be as data driven as you think and your goals usually are. It's always good to pull out a few of those. It's something that we would do with when we're onboarding clients, ask what they like, like
Yeah,
what, not just numbers and opportunities and money, which obviously is at the end of the day, it's all about ROI, but sometimes it's just a visual thing or a time saver, and if you can
yeah.
start to get some of those in early, and then you can have a bit of a quieter run at your own goals for the rest of the year if you get everyone else happy early on.
Definitely. Totally agree with that. And then the next thing I like to do is have a look at the first part. This is really easy, which is what are the new things I want to do this year. So there's probably been all these ideas you've had all year, and maybe you haven't had access to budget until January to do these new things. So it's coming up with what are we going to do that's completely new, that's completely different, that we think is going to help move us towards that goal. And I guess that's the fun and exciting bit of the strategy, isn't it? What's the new things out there? What's trending? What should we be jumping on? What's my own personal opinion on what's going to work?
Yeah.
But I think the opposite side to that's just as important, which is once you've had a true word with yourself, it's what are we not going to do? Like we did things last year, and everyone did things last year that didn't work, and it's the same every year. Like you tried some of those new ideas, or maybe some of those old tactics that we've carried on for the last 5, 6 years have started to wane a little bit. I think it's equally as important to be honest with that and take things out. It's not always just a case of adding new tactics on every year to this book of tactics that you've got.
Yeah, there's always going to be plenty to go at, isn't there? There's no shortage of ideas out there, but I think, yeah, sticking with what's worked, but letting things go as well, and changing it up. You've got to take a few chances, haven't you? I think a nice blend. I'm not the biggest risk taker myself, but you've got to take a few, haven't you? You've got to mix it up a little bit, even if it's just one new thing.
Yeah.
At least that's going to help you push the envelope a little bit. I was going to say, is there anything? It's all sort of theoretical here, but before we sort of move on out of this sort of planning time, for people that are already doing inbound or maybe got HubSpot, been running campaigns all last year or the last few years, is there anything in particular when we talk about this looking back or housekeeping stuff that they can do in Jan that isn't net new, launch a brand new campaign? What is it that people can do to make sure they got the house in order for the year ahead?
If you've been doing inbound for more than a year, there is that good essential housekeeping you need to do, and it's the stuff people actually don't do very often. It's going back on really important things like you probably set up your workflows or something when you started inbound, and that could have been 1 year ago, it could have been 5 years ago. And these are going to be the nurture sequences that every lead that comes into your site gets. So they're really important, but I see so many people just set them and forget them really.
Mm.
The job was make an automation sequence. Like we've done the automation sequence is done. The job wasn't go make an automation sequence that we're going to track converts at 20%. So I'm going to go back in it every month and make it better. Like I see so few people do that. So if you fall into that camp, January is a perfect time to go back and look through those automation sequences. Check whether they're still relevant. Like, is this still what we want to be saying? Is this the business message? Is it the services that we offer? But B, like, how have they performed? Has it done what you set out to do with this tool? And reviewing it from that perspective. So I think one of those good housekeeping things from an inbound and a HubSpot viewpoint is going back and having a look at your workflows. How about
Yeah.
you? What are the other housekeeping bits you like?
I mean, yeah, that's that sort of approach on most of the tools, landing pages, forms, all the obvious stuff, like go through and just check this stuff's live on my website. Like, do I still like it? Like,
Yeah,
a year's passed. Like, does it still look good? Have I changed my mind? Like, you see a lot of landing pages that aren't in the main nav. You might have updated your website styling, and that landing page is a bit janky or weird, and you didn't spot it at the time. There's loads of stuff that pops up. Probably one of the most valuable things I think anyone that's been doing inbound outside of checking HubSpot, obviously, is properly analyzing your content, looking at the blogs you've got running. Let's just take blogs as the example to use, but if you've got over sort of 20, 30 blogs, 40 blogs, and you are planning to write more this year and sort of trying to think, what do I need to write? What do I need to do to hit my traffic goals? I'd definitely look at using a tool. There's a lot of good free ones out there to look at your blogs, see what's degraded over the year or recently, what is dropping, and then that's going to give you probably Jan, Feb's jobs of what do we need to go in and optimize, what do we need to add content to, you know. It's before we even get to that keyword and who's outranking us and what are our competitors doing, you might have got pipped to the post for a certain bit of content, but just the content that is still giving you that traffic, if that just starts to wane, you do need to keep adding to it and refreshing it. I know Animals is a great free tool that we use. I've used last year for sure. There's quite a few out there. And I just think that's such an easy job for such a big increase, or sorry, to keep hold of the gains that you got last year. It's not just about adding net new on top every time, which you end up chasing your tail a little bit because you've got to create ever better, ever bigger content to fill content that's slowly degrading, whereas you can just keep that healthy and still add on top. So yeah, that's probably the most valuable one that I'd suggest. That's gonna not actually take that long. There might be a couple. It might be a couple of your biggest blogs that just need like a few paragraphs tweaking and a bit of extra content, but it's really interesting what comes out of those tools. So yeah, that'd be my vote.
Yeah, that tool's awesome. So for anyone that's not used it, the tool Andrew's talking about is by a company called Animals, and it will literally look for what it calls blog decay. So it'll say the life cycle of a blog is as we all know, is you launch it, you wait months, you start slowly getting a bit of traffic to it. It like peaks at its keyword volume level and where you rank for it starts to peak. And then over time, as the content you've written becomes less relevant because it's slightly out of date, it starts to tail off and your traffic starts to decrease. So what the Animals tool is specifically looking for is what are the blogs you've got in your library that have reached the peak and are coming down, and it'll give you a list of those so you can go back in and bring them up to date with the idea that it will bring it back up. And you're right, there's like if you've been doing inbound for multiple years, like you could have hundreds of blogs. And you could be losing a hell of a lot more traffic per month in decay than you could actually ever gain by just writing 2-3 new blogs. Like the opportunity is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, you see sometimes when you are creating a lot of content, you've got a lot of content, sometimes it's a bit under the radar. Like you don't realize how much you're losing because you still might be net gaining a little bit. So your growth effectively slows, but you're not actually just dropping off a cliff because you would notice that. But you realize some of these blogs that I wrote 2 years ago that were doing a couple of thousand views a month are now at 500. And yes, I'm growing my traffic because other stuff's like climbing as well. But if I just fix those, like I'm going to just take this huge step up. And if you do that now, the sooner you do it, obviously, the sooner it's going to improve, and that's going to compound over the year. So you're going to get those net gains every month. So I probably do that now.
Definitely. And while we're on this,
oh, sorry, go
I
on.
was going to say before I move on that theme, a big tip when we're talking about housekeeping and content and it being January, one of the biggest things you can do right now is go and look at A, your content, but B, this could be applicable to landing pages and workflows and such like, and look for references to previous years and update them. So everyone's got these blogs where it's like the 10 best tools for 2020, right? No one wants to read that in 2021. Like that's a blog that's going to start either tanking ranking wise, or people just are going to not click it. So your click through rate's going to go down. So a quick win's to go in those tools, even if it's just a case of updating the year in the title and in the content, but hopefully while you're in there, you could probably bring it up to date a little bit.
Definitely.
It's a huge win from an SEO perspective. But also it's like, go in and look at your reference landing page in the past, like the amount of times I go in on a website and go to download like a report and it's the 2017 state of manufacturing report. I'm like, well, I don't want that now.
I need
Like,
to know what the state of manufacturing is this year.
yeah, exactly. And I'm really
Yeah.
keen on the state of manufacturing, as you can tell. But the funny thing is, that's probably a CTA from a blog that's never been updated, and they probably do have a 2020 version sat there. No one's just taken, or it's just not dropped on anyone to go and either redirect that page to the 2020 version, or instead of making a new landing page every time for your state of reports, it's just updating the current one to the current year. And if you look through any marketer's asset pool, there'll be so much to change when you look at it from just that perspective alone.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, I jumped in with that one. What were you going to
No,
say?
no, it was kind of just similar, just looking again, tools, your automations, your tech stack, let's just do a bit of an audit if you can and keep on top of it. Exactly the same, there'll be loads of stuff you're paying for, you don't need to, you've not used, or, it's just a good time to work through all of that.
That's a big
Cool.
one, because I remember doing that for us, and you don't remember those tools you're paying for. The cost between $10 and $50 a month, but boy, do they rack up. Like, I think when we last did it, we had like 50 of them. They just sat there. Someone thought it was a good idea at the time. It
Yeah,
probably
tenner a month
was.
doesn't sound too bad. You're like, yeah, go for it. And then
Yeah,
3 years down the line, you've not really used it. That's how
yeah.
they get us. That's it, isn't it?
That's the model, isn't it? But yeah, definitely, that's a good housekeeping one. Is review that tech stack big time.
Definitely.
Well,
Cool.
so before we sign off, what's on your plan in mind for your job over the next few weeks? What have you got coming up?
So yeah, in terms of what I've been up to, changed role a little bit. I'm quite focused at the moment on sort of the agency services side of things. So we've been revamping that sort of last year, started this year. Quite a big change, really exciting change actually, in the way that we're going to start offering agency services. Is very different to how we've done it in the past. It's going to be like a lot more flexible. So I'm really, really excited about that. And the team have done an amazing job building that up. So we're just really at the end part of that. So that'll be really exciting to announce soon. And other than that, really just supporting the guys. We've got a growing team as ever. So making sure that all the stuff we've just talked about, that those guys, we've bedded that in with our clients, and that we are going to be launching a lot of new services this year, doing a lot of exciting stuff, and doing things a little bit differently, which is super exciting. So yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment. How about you?
Brilliant. Yeah, so I think I've changed role a bit since we were last on the podcast, but my focus over these next coming weeks in the past couple of weeks really has been all about our marketing, and we're doing a lot of new stuff this year. Like I said, we did literally what we spoke about, sat and had a word with ourselves, cut out some channels that weren't maybe performing for us, and went through our list of ideas and picked 2 or 3 of those. So currently we're in the process of recording a vlog, which is new for us. I think it's been on the to-do list for a long time, and it felt like the right time to do it. We're doubling down on community. We're trying to do a lot of value add into that community. So we did an open office hours session yesterday, which went really well. We're doing some free workshops and training. So I'm just finding myself just talking to a lot of marketers at the moment, which is a nice place to be, really. And it's good to keep your finger on the pulse of the sort of problems and challenges that are out there. So I'm really enjoying it right now.
I was going to say, don't forget the free training. I think that's still open at the moment. If people do want to, are interested in it, I think that's one of the best offers we've ever come up with.
Yeah,
Sort of a
definitely.
win-win for us because we enjoy it anyway. But I think it's like to have that over the course of a year, not just a one-off, and have our support as well. It's brilliant. So yeah, that's really good.
I'll pop the link below wherever this goes out. But yeah, essentially that, like, our purpose, as it says on my wall behind me, is to grow, learn, and enjoy together. And when we sat down making our marketing plan, we thought, how can we bring that to life more than we already do? Because we already do these podcasts, we do our blog, we do our own content, but the bit that we're missing is a bit of kind of tangibility and hands-on with the community. So we thought, okay, everyone's doing webinars and some things like that, but how can we take that to the next level, which is spending real focus sessions with people? It could be 4 or 5 hours, getting hands-on in the tool, screen sharing. So we're going to be doing that all year. So we're going to support teams all year with free HubSpot and inbound marketing training. And like you say, we'll pop a link to that there so people can hop on it over the next couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Brill. Well, I've enjoyed being back, mate. That was
Quick while we're ahead, I think.
Yeah, let's do it. Nice, easy way back into the podcast. So looking forward to having another chat with you in a few weeks. And yeah, hopefully people enjoy it.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah. See you again next time.